Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, iRacing fans from around the world, welcome to a very special event, Slamming Saturday with KMA Racing. I am Sky Kolovic. This is KMA TV. Joining me up in the booth is my good friend Ronald Klein. How are we doing, Ronald?
Very well, Scott.
Going to be a good night out here tonight at Talladega. We've got some great weather on this 2.66 mile speedway. But Ron, we've got a little bit of a small crowd. Seem we've got a little bit of competition out there with the NASCAR race showing up on Bristol tonight.
That is part of the issue.
I think we're having a little bit of microphone issue right there with RTK. Going to give him a minute to get it fixed. Sounds like he's just cutting in and out. While we're waiting on that, tonight, as I mentioned, it is Slammin' Saturday. We've got a small field here tonight, but we've still got a lot of heavy hitters out here. We've got Chris Hogue out here, Gary Whitmer Jr. representing RTK Motorsports, Joel Guy, Kevin Scott Nelson with Kickin' Asphalt, Lee Ryerson Jr. We've got Richie B making his debut appearance back. But you know, Ron, these small fields, they can go 6 ways from Sunday. What do you think?
Open my fix now.
Still a little bit of cutting in and out, almost like a little bit of electrical. We're going to keep working on that as we are getting ready to announce up on our qualifying order tonight. Now, I expect qualifying to be extremely important out here tonight with just such a few amount of drivers out here tonight. Up there on that opening line, I actually have Joel Guy out there in front, pulling down a 53.439. Lee Ryerson sitting in second place with a 53.499. Chris Hogue, 53.508. Donald Stewart in fourth. Sean Brown in fifth. Sixth is totally screwing up on my grid, so not sure about that. And Richard Brose back in seventh, and Gary Whitmer back in eighth. John Henderson gridding up tonight in 11th position. Ronald Klein is in the booth, and Kevin Scott Nelson. So not all of these drivers are actually on this field tonight. Going to be a small field, looking like we've got just about, I'm thinking maybe about 8 drivers, but nonetheless, Joel Guy out there in front. Not often we see Joel Guy out there on that front line, Ronald.
No, not very often at all. And not because he doesn't have the ability, just because usually he doesn't care to be up there.
Oh, he's a lot like me. You know, I like to hang out there in the back. But, you know, with the small field, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're looking at 6 drivers out here tonight, and they've got to tackle on 100 laps. Now, I'm thinking that we're going to see a large amount of brotherhood out here. I really think that these 6 guys, they're going to stick together most of the night tonight. I think because otherwise they're going to get split apart, and it's going to be, quite frankly, a drag, and I'm not talking a drag race.
No, it'll be a complete snooze fest, unfortunately. Nobody out there wants to see that, including us, obviously. You know, Talladega and Daytona both, I don't really care for them, but when you're in them, you want to see 30 cars, 40 cars even, because that's when it's the most exciting. That's when there's a ton of energy in the field. It can be a caution fest with that many cars, but like you said, it can be a caution fest with just a few cars. So hopefully we'll see a good race tonight. I hope these guys will mix it up and kind of try to change the lead and have some fun. But with this many cars, I just don't want it to be follow the leader for 100 cars, because you and I are going to have to entertain ourselves as well as the fans.
Well, we've got the fans out there going to help us on, and maybe we can get some information going out there. Maybe you can dig up some fun facts for us. Big shout out there to Becky Whitmer. But we are getting ready to make the best of tonight's low count field. I do worry that, we preach about distracted driving. Now, a lot of drivers opted to go on and not race tonight to watch a Bristol race. Hopefully, all 6 of these drivers are going to stay focused on the simulator instead of the real life TV out there, because that would be a form of distracted driving.
It absolutely would be, Scott, and that's one of the reasons why I'm up here in the booth with you tonight. Number one, I don't really care for the super speedway races, you know that, and I've got the race up on my other monitor over here, and it's on NBC Sports, so I'm actually broadcasting it, so I'll be focusing on the race, but occasionally if we get a caution or a pit stop or just a chance to take a quick breather, I'll take a peek over and see what we got.
I'll tell you what, the way that I've got my stuff set up, Ron, as we do get underway here, is I'm in the back corner of my room, and I've got the 3 monitors in front of me. In order for me to see my television, I actually have to lift up my center monitor. With the headset on, I can't listen, I can't view. I'm going to stay focused tonight and give our fans, hopefully, some of the best racing action with these 6 drivers out here tonight. Joel Guy out there in front, side by side with Lee Ryerson. Now looking at the number 12 truck right there, a Chevy Silverado. That's a pretty darn good cause out there to be talking about. The anti-bullying, the stop bullying. Talk to us a little bit about that paint job there, Ron.
Lee Ryerson had a race for that cause sometime back, and he's carried it over to not only his truck, but I think he ran it on a car or a cup car, I can't remember. But anti-bullying, it's not just kids anymore, it's not just in schools, it's everywhere. It's social media, it's in the schools, it's at work, it's everywhere. And like I said, again, it's not just children that have to deal with this now. This is becoming an epidemic where it's adults that have to put up with it too. You can be the odd man out at work and basically you get bullied because of it, and I don't get it. I don't understand why people don't get it, and really enjoy the fact that KMA runs these themed races, and we get a chance to put that word out there, and hoping that KMA becomes more successful and gets more viewership, and we get these theme issues that in real life out there to more people.
A lot of great causes out there, and a lot of great causes we have done. Gary Whitmer pushing on to the rear end in the number 5 tonight. Big shout out there to Gary Whitmer. Gary Whitmer driving the popsicle, but still showing his support for Pad. Has the purple rims on and the Pad logo there in front of the rear left tire. And he is side by side with Richard Brose. Richard Brose making his comeback appearance tonight.
I was gonna say something about that. It was kind of nice to see the 87 truck back here at the Talladega, and nice to see him back.
Richard Brose having to take a little bit of a breather for a couple of weeks, taking care of some real life issues, and him and Ed sat down, had a talk, and decided it was time for Richie B to come back. Richie B pushing onto the rear end of the number 91. Kevin Scott Nelson in the number 224. Looking very sharp out there, showing a lot of patience. But right now, the pressure here, if there is going to be pressure on lap 4 of 100, is indeed with the number 224 and the number 11 of John Henderson, because they have not got a pusher.
Right. Well, here's something interesting. Chris Hogue actually qualified. I'm sorry, he did not qualify. Or did he? Yes, he did. He qualified, and He qualified third but fell through. Now he is just in front of that lead pack. He has made it back into the room, came back out onto the track, must have had a communication connection error, and he is just a few seconds in front of this pack. So hopefully when the pack gets to him, he is up high right now. Hopefully when the pack gets to him, he will be able to latch on to the rear end of this pack and make it a 7-car pack and possibly make things, you know, a little bit more interesting. The more cars that we can get in the pack, the better it's going to be.
I think they're going to try to pick him up. We've got the front cameras up here as Richie B does approach, and that front pack going on. But I do believe that the number 5, Gary Whitmer, might be slowing down just a hair. Gary Whitmer out there.
Not sure. Not looking like it here, Scott. I'm not sure what. Chris seems to be staying up high, which is, unless he's having issues and he's just out here making laps.
And you know what? And that's perfectly fine too as well. But you're absolutely right, because in order for him to have grabbed that draft, Becky Whitmer out there on the KMA TV chat, her ears perking up because she's going to be behind the wheel one day. So she listens to all these tips and tricks. But at the super speedway, for him to have grabbed that draft efficiently, he would have had to have dropped down into that lower lane.
Correct. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but looks like Chris Hogue will, I guess, basically, you know, he's probably just basically out there to help out his teammate and just run some laps and support KMA. But I would assume that at this point he's probably just doesn't want to cause any issues. He's going to wait till he can, you know, make a difference in the race.
Well, you know, that's perfectly fine. If you're not comfortable with your set, he might be having some issues there along with the internet. He might be having some wheel issues because goodness knows, you know, these G27s, these Momos, you got to be in tune with your wheel, and sometimes it does take 10-15 laps for you to get back in tune. Now our leaders right now, for the most part, staying straight line formation, 224 up in that second lane trying to make something happen, but he's got to get around Joel Guy.
This is also a great time for these guys to learn. There's not a lot of cars out here, so you can be a little bit wiggly squiggly. You can, in your wheel settings, you know, feel things out. You can learn how to push because there's not so much going on around you. As we see Lee Ryerson pull up and the high side, Kevin Scott Nelson's going to get up behind him. So we're going to have a battle for the lead here, but it's a good opportunity for a lot of these guys to just kind of see and do things that they haven't done before. If you got 2 trucks that kind of lose the pack, they're not going to really lose the pack as long as the guy in the back is willing to push and push hard. There's just not enough energy in the 4 cars to leave or I should say 4 trucks, but to leave the 2 trucks behind. So this, if it stays like this and we have the 6-car pack till the end, really the 2 cars towards the back right now, I'm unfortunately, all I know is Gary Whitmer Jr. right now, and there's I can see the number now, number 11 of John Henderson. They could actually lay off the pack and get a really good run to the outside, and we could have a 3-wide finish. So it could be a good night for a lot of different reasons.
Well, you know, oddly enough, you know, Gary Whitmer Jr. right now, his fast lap is a 49.035 compared to the race leader, Richard Brosley, of a 49.010. So Gary Whitmer considerably faster because he is indeed sucking up all of that draft back there. And right now we have John Henderson back there with a 49.058, and he just did pull down his fast lap on lap 10. Seems to be pulling a little bit off of the rear end of the number 5. Number 5 maybe giving a little bit of a catch-up, and once again, We are 6 strong up here in the lead on lap 10. Richard Brose out at Dothan, Alabama, leading that inside lane. A big shout out there to Richie B's Pizza. Never had it yet, but one day going to get down to Alabama and check it out. But I do want to remind our fans about Blaze Pizza. Check them out on the internet. Check them out in your local city. Get online. Pretty sure there is one in your vicinity. Blaze Pizza, our Friday night sponsor.
This will be a really good night for guys to kind of just test different things out, test runs, and see where they can go with the trucks and see how the draft works.
But you know, it's going to get real interesting there around lap 28 to lap 31, because I tell you what, you know, it was 6 guys out here on the field. They're all in the same channel, so they're going to have to make a decision as to whether or not to go in as a pack, 6 trucks strong, or whether or not somebody's going to be playing favorites with somebody. And, well, if we have that happen, we're going to end up with 3-on-3 or a 2-on-2-on-2 situation. I predict that these drivers are going to stay together as a 6-strong pack, probably for about 85 laps is what I'm predicting.
I would have to agree with you. I don't think we're going to see anything.
Drivers looking very good right now. But, you know, there is also the equation of the green flag pit stops. We have the speed police, you know, the Department of Transportation, POPO, if you will. They're in pit row. So even if these drivers do go in as a nice, friendly, well-organized 6-pack, well, what if one of those 6-pack gets caught for speeding or spins out? You know, so tonight, it really could show a matter of a caution-free race, and he who can pit will win this race tonight under green flag pitting conditions. Lee Ryerson down to that inside lane.
I would have to agree with what you're saying, Scott. It's just really going to be tough to say anything because, like you said, if a caution comes out, unfortunately, my belief is if we have a caution, it's probably going to be the leaders. Probably going to take 4 of the 6 out, leaving a reset. And hopefully we wouldn't have that situation. That, you know, that reset, and then we're just left with a couple cars at the end. But this is kind of what I was looking to see what we're seeing right now. We're kind of 3 wide there for a moment, and people are trying to see what they can do if you get a run. Now the 5 is going to come up to the back of the 11. The 11 will have this huge run. 91 and the 12 are going to have a run to the inside, so to speak. So it's a good learning experience for you guys out here tonight. Not see the wreck fest that we've seen, or we may not see a bunch of dicing for the, but these guys are going to learn a lot. Hopefully it won't hurt the field.
Richard Brose, our race leader, leading 5 laps. Lee Ryerson leading 5 laps. Joel Guy leading 5 laps. Looks like Joel and Kevin, I do believe, might have got a little tight right there side by side. Now, something else these drivers are going to have to tend to, with it being a smaller field, is monotony and highway hypnosis as the 224 comes up onto that middle lane. Going to get a boost from the number 11 and the number 5 of GW Graphics, Gary Whitmer. But, you know, because it is a small field, Ronald, there is going to be the danger of basically falling asleep at the wheel at 197 miles per hour.
Yes, and the best thing that can be done to prevent that is what Lee Ryerson is doing. Lee Ryerson is running each lap as if it were towards the end. Watch him get to the bumper of the number 87, backing off, coming into the corner, which is typical of what we do at the end of the race. We get right to that back bumper, we push hard, we back off just a little bit going in the corner, not only so we can see our line, but also to cool the car a little bit. We'll close the gap coming out of the corner, get back on in the straightaways. That's also one of the safest ways. There's always that chance that somebody might... The guy in the front really controls the bumper hooking.
Three wide up there. Richard Brose, the monkey in the middle, as the 224, the number 11 take the number 87 3 wide. Now 87 was down on that inside lane, but he did drift up. When he drifted up, Lee Ryerson coming down, leaving Richard Brose in the middle in the second group by himself. 224 very tight onto that wall. Whoa, not sure why the 224 was glazing that exterior wall right there.
Me either, Scott, but what we just saw there is if the 224 and the 11 would have actually stayed on the outside, the 87 probably could have hung in the middle by himself, because he had 3 trucks on the inside, 2 trucks on the out, breaking the draft. Would not have been able to move forward, but he probably could have kept where he was. So that's the other thing about this smaller field. Everything changed. So as these laps wind down, the leaders are coming up on Chris Hogue again. So we'll see if Chris Hogue is going to try to tuck in with the leaders this time. Looks like the 11 is going up high. Maybe pick him up.
That's what I am thinking.
Looks like the 87 is going up as well. Not sure. Yes, the 87 is pulling up to the back bumper of the number 6 truck.
Alrighty, Richard Brose.
Yep. Brose is gonna, like, he's gonna go with Chris Hogue and try to put him up in the back. And the nice part about it, once again, because of how big the field is, they will be able to make that move and it won't affect them whatsoever. Chris Hogue can tuck up to the 11 truck here. Give them will run back, right back up to this. Won't be an issue.
Not an issue at all. Right now, they're looking at a 0.7, 0.6 differential on the rear end of John Henderson and Kevin Scott Nelson. So not going to be an issue at all. Chris Hogue going back up top. Going to fall in line with the number 87 of Richard Brose. And we are very close to having us a good old-fashioned 7-pack, but it does appear Chris Hogue might be falling off the tail end of the number 87. And again, possibility Chris Hogue having a little bit of wheel differential and just not comfortable out here running 197 miles per hour tonight. Possibly just hanging out there in the back because he still is on that draft of Richard Brose.
I believe it was Thursday night. Chris had mentioned having wheel issues, and at the not short tracks, but at the other tracks, wasn't noticing it. So that problem is back. And nobody likes to hear this or wants to, but unfortunately, Hogue might need a new. The hardware does fail, so hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully he'll get it figured out, but I think he having some difficulties keeping. He just did the smart thing, up out of the leader, left him out of trouble.
Now talk to us about the hardware out here. There's probably, I would think, 4 to 5 different gauges of wheel, one for every price range out there. I myself, I run on a Logitech G27. The G29 is the newest one. What do you run on out here on these tracks, Ronald?
I also run the G27. I find I'm one of those guys that like to be very thorough. I read a lot about it, and for the entry level person, I mean, you have entry level wheels that are cheaper, but you're not gonna get the clutch, the brake, and not gonna get the quality shifter. So there are cheaper versions and cheap options, but I ended up choosing 7. It has the buttons on the wheels that I like. It has enough of those, and then I also additional 7 buttons and it that on the shifter, so that allows me to set up all the buttons and all the pit stops and everything I want without having to go and buy what's called a button box. Now that I brought that up, I'll have to explain that real quick. A button box is basically just a piece of hardware that you plug into the computer that you can map all these different things, such as pit command, field command, black flags or wave around, admin response, tool strategies, tire strategy. So you can get that all in one thing, button box, and then you don't have to have anything. You just have a button box and it's labeled. Most of the guys that run those, that's when you get up past the Logitech series, start stepping into Fanatics. It's the Fanatic Club Sport Elite or something like that.
Sounds right.
Those don't generally come with a lot of buttons on or on the wheel, so therefore you need a button box. Starting out hardware, get into it for probably about $100 for a decent wheel to get you started on iRacing, and then 7 G29. There's a couple different versions. There's a 5. Those run you anywhere 100. And we're gonna have our first caution, Scott. Well, I don't know if it's gonna bring caution out or not, actually.
We're gonna see what happened right here.
Backing it up as well.
All right, so we're looking at contact right there with the 224, the number 12, the number 5. I'm looking at just narrowly contact there with the number 5 and the number 224. 224 into the number 12. You know, but you're right, no caution has flown. But let's see how many drivers were affected. 1, 2, 3, 4. Joel and the number 11 threading through it. 224 doing a wheelie off that wall and another wheelie. Hey, you got to give the 224 some props right there, I tell you what. Now, interesting situation right here. Joel does have the ability to manually throw a caution. Ronald, talk to our fans, and I'll be right back.
Looks like Richard Burke.
On the track, you should get a caution.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm already in here. I don't know how I made it back. Yes, Scott, was that me going too low, or I couldn't quite tell.
Have a caution now.
All right, there we go. All right, some of our fans may have heard that overflow right there. We did temporarily interrupt the broadcast there so that I could manually throw a caution. So with a small field, Ron, you know exactly what we were doing. Go on and tell the fans what we were doing while I get my stuff caught back up.
Not a problem. We threw a admin caution because had a small breakaway and basically non-existent. Would have been a couple cars up front, and really no one to catch up. Right now, currently, I am 11 of John Guy and Ryerson. Those would have been the 3 cars that broke. Gary Whitmer Jr., Kevin Scott Nelson. Those are 2 of the cars that were caught up in. While Scott's getting caught up here, I'm trying to figure out. I believe he's trying to limp around without blowing up.
Richard Brose doing some serious smoking. Richard Brose, not sure he's going to make it back down to pit row.
He is very close, Scott. He's been limping it around. It has taken him, since the incident happened, it is this long to get. Unless he didn't go in the first time when he passed it and limped the second time.
He's cruising in at about, no, he's not, I don't know, he's down to 29, 28, 27. Richard Brose in some bad shape. Now, Joel's going to have another decision to make here as well. Joel will have the ability to manually get Richard Brose back on that lead lap. Now, I'm not going to interrupt the broadcast anymore to suggest that Joel do that. But Joel Guy right now, just a simple little fun night tonight, he's got a few decisions right now that he can, he's going to have to make.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was watching Richard Brose, and it looked like his front end was broken. Literally, he tried to turn down pit road and couldn't. He actually had to take a tow after sitting on pit road, trying to pit road. Very unfortunate.
Well, let's get a chat in with Joel Guy as our current race in-house admin and see what is on the mind of Joel Guy. How are we doing, Joel Guy?
I'm doing fine, Scott.
Now, our fans did hear me get up there and talk to you, and we chose to manually throw a caution because, you know, just a small group of guys out here tonight. But what is a word on the track about what did bring that caution out?
Word on the track was this: nobody's sure who hit who, or who was actually in caused it. It was a couple of different drivers said they might have slid up some, but neither one thinks they hit anybody. But that's the way that goes.
Small field out here tonight. So what are you going to do about Richard Brose? Richard Brose in pit row, currently sitting. You have the power to get him waved around. Are you just going to let the chips land where they fall? Is Richard Brose going to be able to return to the race tonight?
Oh, absolutely. I want to give Kevin Scott Nelson and Richie a wave around, however many it takes to get them back on lead lap for tonight.
Alrighty.
Well, we noticed that Richard Brose was limping it around, but unfortunately this broke literally on the actual virtual car. Made it to pit road, but he couldn't turn down it. He was going to grass and back out, so he had to take the tow. So the only way for this to happen would be hard, I would believe. That's something that you're willing to do? Yeah.
Let's just let's extend the caution and give him as many wave arounds as we have to get him back on lead lap.
Well, I'm watching him right now. He's taking tires, and he is on his way out of pit right now. So.
All right, we'll let you go, Joel, so you can get back in touch with Richie and get him taken care of.
Okay.
While we're waiting, we can interview one more driver out here. How about it Gary Whitmer? Have you got a copy?
I got you, Scott.
All righty. So everybody out here tonight, small crowd, but we're all working together. Ronald Klein had a few questions for you.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, Scott.
I know, right?
So that incident, it looked like a racing incident. But we're not going to get into. Did you have to use your backup truck?
No, I went flying through pit road, and had a 3-second repair. I'm all good.
Okay, well that's great. So you, fortunately enough, you are not, or you did not have to take. Secondly, what truck are you actually in? Pad truck, or are you in the popsicle truck?
Should be in a pad.
I am actually seeing pad truck. Fortunately, our viewers are seeing you in a popsicle truck.
Well, it's still got the pad logos there, though.
Yeah.
But glad to see that you're got that paint job on there. Love the fact that you support Pad passionately. Talk to me real quick about Pad.
Yeah, Pad is People Against Distracted Driving. Pad shares a story that Mike Kaleni, his daughter, was killed in an accident from texting and driving. And him and his wife is sharing the story. They come up with the foundation of Pad, and they share the story. Not only that, but they help victims as well. It's a great cause.
Okay, and where can our viewers and anybody that, even if they're not normal viewers, where can our viewers go to?
Yeah, you can catch Pad at padd.org. It's pad.org. And also on People Against Distracted Driving on Facebook.
Copy that. So now that we've got that out of the way, we got an extended caution. We're trying to get one of the competitors back on the lead lap to make this a little more interesting. Talk to me real quick about the smaller field. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
It's a little bit more relaxing. Not as much tense going on, so you don't have that many cars to look after, and it's trying to keep everybody up at the same pace, and just, I'd like to learn.
Yeah, Scott and I were talking about that during the broadcast, and we had spoken basically, I had said that I thought that would be a great opportunity for guys to learn, that you could back off and get runs, that you could side by side, without really the fear of taking out the entire field. So great opportunity for that, and that's how I felt. I was just wondering what your thoughts on it, and it sounds like you have a very similar opinion.
Yeah, it's just bad for me because I'd come in late because I was eating out with the wife and the parents, and got in here and everything was set up for Bristol because I've been practicing Bristol all afternoon, so I had to do a lot of changes when I got in here.
Copy that. Well, that is all the questions that I have for you right now, sir. Looks like we're giving laps back. Should be probably getting ready to go green. Maybe on maybe one more or two more laps.
Richard Brose is taking his second set of wave-bys, trying to get him back up on the lead lap. I did have one more question back to Pad, Gary.
Yep.
Now, your mom is getting involved with Pad. She's doing a beautiful quilt. And I read somewhere the quilt's going to be up for auction or a donation sale or something. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we're trying to find a way. The ideal is to put it up for auction, and the proceeds that come from that auction go to Pad.
Nice. All right, well, feel free to utilize the KMA Racing Facebook situation. I think that might be a very good start. Might be able to bring in a couple of $100 for that. Good to see the fans out there getting involved with Pad as well.
Yep.
All right, good luck to you tonight, Gary.
All right, thanks, Scott.
I tell you what, Ron, the power of social media. I had never heard about Pad before I got into iRacing, and I had a stepbrother of sorts that unfortunately lost his life at the age of 21, involved in a drinking accident, which is still a form of distracted driving. When I met Mike, I've talked to Mike on the phone several times. Mike's a great guy. My heart goes out to him and all the families that have suffered a loss through distracted driving. Now make sure you check us out on the first Sunday of the month, ladies and gentlemen, for the monthly Race for Pad. We get out here at Talladega. We get out here in the trucks. You see a whole lot of purple. And on the first Sunday of the month, we are racing for Nikki Kaleni and People Against Distracted Driving. Had to get the bell in there one time.
Thought so.
All right, lap 33 of 100, a twice extended caution. Now that will put Richard Brose back onto that lead lap. So a big shout out there to Joel Guy, John Henderson, Kevin Scott Nelson, Lee Ryerson, Gary Whitmer, all being in agreement to get all the drivers back up onto that lead lap. But this may be the one and only time they do this.
I would think so, Scott. I don't see another reason to do it later in the race. We are now at 34 laps into the race. I think it's kind of I think it's going to be it is what it is from this point on. You know, that was kind of the gimme for the entire field because it was a mistake, but that was kind of okay, let's get everybody back together, and now the cards should fall where they fall.
Back to Green Flag Racing, John Henderson on that front line of the inside lane being pushed on by Gary Whitmer Jr., Joel Guy, working with Lee Ryerson on that middle lane. 224 Scott Nelson on the inside. Third position, Richard Brose, third position on that middle line. And again, you know, these drivers went in there on lap 34, just a couple of laps shy of what would have been their normal window. Richard Brose looking like he's got about 6 degrees of separation off the number 12. You got to get up there, Richie. You got to get up there to that number 12.
And that being the nice part that we talked about earlier, I don't think that he has to worry so much. He's within the draft. I don't see him losing it, especially if he pulls down on the inside lane, take the short way around the track. He'll be right back up on the bumper in no time.
Drivers topping speeds of 193, 194. If you're back there on that rear end, about 197 by the time you accumulate that draft. Riding on the tire well of Joel Guy, supporting Hendrick Motorsports Fanatic and Pad. Joel Guy showing his love for Pad, being pushed on by the number 12 of Lee Ryerson Jr. in the anti-bullying Chevy Silverado. Number 11 up into that middle groove, going to get a boost from 91, Joel Guy. Something really cool, Ron. I had actually met you and Edward Bray a couple of months ago when you had helped KMA TV out, setting us up with this fine machine. We broadcast in 1080 on the 4Ks. Not that I understand 1080 or a 4K, but nonetheless. But interesting here, next month, Lee Ryerson's going on vacation. And Lee Ryerson is going to be making a pit stop here in my hometown, here in Illinois. And I'm going to be having dinner there with Lee Ryerson. We're going to be doing a little bit of partying, possibly trying to get a double broadcast going on with Lee Ryerson. And, you know, that is just such really cool stuff right there when we really get out there and meet, shake hands, and give high fives to our fans, our brotherhood, our racers. Cool stuff right there. Looking very forward, very excited to meeting Lee.
I would be too. That's a pretty neat aspect about social media and the iRacing community. Well, you can meet people from all over, actually all over the world, but fortunately for some of us, we live close enough to where at some point, at any given time, we could be crossing paths with somebody and find out where they live and stop in and say hi.
And, here with KMA, we are all over several states. The majority actually is from Virginia. And we've got a few up there in Maryland and Delaware. Jason Russo out of Massachusetts. I'm from Illinois. Cody is up there from Wisconsin. You're out of Alabama. Richard Brose out of Alabama as well. Lee Ryerson out of New York. Jack Watts with Southeast. He's out of California, I do believe. You know, so it doesn't matter where you live. iRacing is out there for everyone. So a big shout out there to all the drivers that enjoy the great spirited fun here within iRacing. Kevin Scott Nelson out there on that front line. Lee Ryerson actually will take that and lead that lap. Lee Ryerson tonight leading 12 laps. Joel Guy leading 5. John Henderson leading 11. Richard Brose leading 7. One caution totaling 6 laps, but you got to remember, those were manually thrown as we do look at our race summary. Leader is Gary Whitmer. So you've been doing something really cool with some t-shirts, I hear, and some great stickers out there. Tell us all about that there, Ronald.
Yeah, we talked about doing something for KMA, partially for promotions and partially, you know, get the word out there and get some of our drivers the ability or the opportunity to wear some KMA attire and are selling the shirts along with $12. So anybody that's interested, go to the KMA Racing Facebook page. It's on there, and find the information there to purchase one of the t-shirts. Get 4 stickers with it.
Nice, very nice. I have one of those KMA t-shirts in my possession. Very nice cotton fill, white, with the KMA logos up on it. Did a great job designing those out, Ron.
I'm digging up some facts and
Nice. Dig away. And right now we are looking at Richard Brose. Digging away. They're getting dicey there. 3 wide. Gary Whitmer, Kevin Scott. The number 11, 3 wide racing here on lap 42. Gary Whitmer in that center. Whoa, Nelly. As the number 11, Richard Brose. Number 11 of John Henderson, and Richard Brose took it 3 wide around Gary Whitmer Jr.
getting a little racy.
They are getting a little racy. Well, you know, we're almost at that halfway point. It says lap 42 of 158 to go. 10 lead changes out here tonight. But I tell you what, the boys are having a lot of fun out here. Richard Brose and John Henderson on that outside lane. Lee Ryerson all over the rear end of the number 224 of Kevin Scott Nelson, leading his first lap of the night.
All right, Scott, I got it. And by the way, I got a bunch of people stumped on Thursday night.
Did you?
I did. So, oh man, this is a good one. So, there are 2 drivers that have, I can't say how many starts, but they have the same amount of starts, and they lead all drivers with the amount of starts. So, that's a good bit of trivia. So if anybody can come up with the 2 drivers' names that have the most starts at Talladega, put it up there in that KMA chat, and we'll let you know if you're correct.
So 2 drivers are tied for the largest amount of starts at Talladega.
Correct.
Well, it would obviously have to be a veteran driver, I would assume.
Yep, it would be obviously 2 veteran drivers.
Well, I
that
don't
should be
think
interesting.
it would be Danica. I don't think it would be Danica.
No.
All right, ladies and gentlemen out there on that KMA TV chat, 2 drivers tied for the most amount of starts at Talladega. Type it up into that KMA TV chat. We'll give you a few laps here to look at that. Going to take a quick look at our running order as we near the halfway point. Do want to give a big shout out there to David Everly with Dre Broadcasting, assisting me with a little bit of some new flashy colors out here. And actually, Ronald, you did some flashy colors on Wednesday and Thursday, and somehow or another, our flashy colors almost mimicked one another. Great minds think alike. But I tell you what, that is something, again, that is so cool for the painters, the operators, the designers. We may come up with something brand new for tomorrow night's race, and not only can you race out here with iRacing, but you can also paint. You can be a mechanic, you can be a driver, team owner, league owner. Lots of stuff out here to do. But one thing that just dawned on me we have not talked about. I was not here Thursday. Gary Whitmer Sr. made his debut out here on Thursday night. How did Gary Sr. do?
He did okay. It's all part of the learning process for his first race out there. I think he did very well. I think there was a little bit of a communication error between the drivers. I don't really know for sure because on nights like tonight where you're the primary broadcaster, I'm able to listen into team radios as well. I was unable because I was a sole broadcaster to listen to the team radios. Just had a slight incident where the leaders were coming around and he did go high, but then coming out of, I believe it was turn 2, came off the wall and caused a little bit of an incident. But I thought for his first race, it went very well. Gary Whitmer Jr. worked with him early on, and then things kind of went a little bit south. And I don't want to say the word abandoned, but Gary Whitmer Jr. had to pick the time when it was right for him to go, and I think he felt that it was time to go. And I got a chance to talk to Gary Whitmer over the radio, actually. Gary Whitmer Jr., what he thought about racing out there with his father, and it was really cool. So hoping that Gary Whitmer Sr. gets into a lot more of these races, especially the regular racetracks. In my personal opinion, I think the regular racetracks are a little bit easier to drive. The super speedways is something that really takes a lot of racing to hone the skill to be able to hold the lines as well as you want. And once you get that down, then you start adding everything else. Watching the mirrors, watching line to see who's coming, the runs, the openings, and just so much to see that I thought he did a fantastic job for his first.
Very nice, very nice. All right, we've got some answers coming out there on the KMA TV chat of the question of which 2 drivers are tied for the most starts out here at Talladega. Now, Ron, I was thinking Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart. I don't know if that's right or not, but Becky Whitmer saying that it may have been Marcus and Terry Labonte.
That is actually the correct answer. Dave Marcus and Terry Labonte led the series in starts at Talladega with 61 each.
Good job out there to Becky Whitmer. I gave you a 5-bell thumbs up right there. Becky Whitmer, and I was way off base. Labonte, that is a veteran name for sure. Good job out there to Becky Whitmer. 3 wide up there on that front line. Again, they are getting dicey. Joel Guy, the monkey in the middle.
Yeah, this should be interesting here. Gary Whitmer knows not going to take the chance. He could have pulled down in front of Kevin Scott Nelson there and everything would have been fine. chose to be cautious and going to pull down in line here. Field working very well, being careful. Pretty impressed right now, Scott.
So under green flag situations, let's see, we went back to green flag racing on 34, 35. So they're looking at roughly 65. They're going to be about 4 to 5 laps short on fuel.
I think, well, they actually pitted a little bit earlier because we did run quite a few laps under. What was our total caution lap so far?
6.
So they ran 6 under caution, and if they were really saving fuel, they probably only burned, let's say, gallon to a gallon and a half. So it's about a 2-to-1 ratio. So the flip side of that, went back at 34, went back to green flag at 34. Is that correct? 34?
I do believe so.
We went back green at 34. That means we're looking at 64 to 65 at best, but I think probably more realistically 62, because they probably burned about a gallon to a gallon and a half, maybe a little bit more during those 6 caution flag laps. And as you know, guys are out there, especially right now the 224 and the 91, they're burning the most fuel out of them all. They'll get about 30 laps if they're lucky.
6
28 to 30.
6 drivers up here doing a great job holding it together. In-car camera with John Henderson in the number 11. Now when you're in this in-car camera, Ron, it looks like they're all wiggly squiggly. We are looking at the rear end of the number 87, loose cannon of Richard Brose. We've got an angle down there on the left of the number 12. And at 194 miles per hour, doesn't look like they're holding that solid of a line, but that is the nature of the beast here at the Speedway.
It is, and it's realistic as the sim racing has become. I think that you don't see it as much in real life racing as you do it in the simulator racing, because the feel of the car is not there. By that I mean the actual feeling that you have when you're inside of the car. You'll feel the lateral forces. You'll feel the car move. You'll hear cars better. The simulator is very close. Don't get me wrong, but I think you see a little bit of discrepancy between simulator, and then on top of that, real world race cars. The feedback is there. Steering wheel. Simulator, especially like we talked earlier with the lower grade wheels, the mid grade wheels, the force feedback and the feedback that you get through the wheel is simulated, so it's not 100% real.
Well, we bounce up into the chopper view, and I tell you what, Ron, the whole scene almost changes. And up in chopper view, they look a lot more solid. So a lot of it, my point is view of perspective as well.
Yes.
224. Go ahead.
And if you jumped into a car in real life, you'll see the cars moving around a little bit, maybe just not as much, not as drastic as we are right now.
Well, I tell you what, every time I'm in the car with my wife, that car moves around a whole lot.
Gary Whitmer Jr. getting hung out on the outside right now. Maybe they're getting ready, they're just contemplating this next pit stop or what's going on. It was kind of strange. Everybody got down to the inside lane.
Lap 56 of 144 to go. 20 lead changes. Those lead changes are bracking up. We've got Kevin Scott Nelson, Joel Guy, Richard Brose, each driver leading 7. John Henderson leading 13. Lee Ryerson leading 14. Richard Brose staying well off the rear end of the number 91, as well as the number 11 of John Henderson. Joel Guy thought he was going to go to that outside of the 224. Was he peeking or was he swerving right there?
I think he was getting air. I didn't hear it over the radio, but I think he might have been getting air.
All right, talk to our fans about getting air. What do they need, an oxygen tank out there?
When the lead car is out there and you're behind them, usually you're going to get tucked up underneath them as tightly as possible. Tonight, they don't really need to push that hard, but it's great practice to be doing. Joel's getting to the back bumper. As we get a two guys going down pit road, Lee Ryerson got tagged by Gary Whitmer. He is going to get a speeding penalty. I'm actually on board with him. I was on board with him before. Yep. Richard Brose and Lee Ryerson were going to pit. Unfortunately, Lee Ryerson waited too long to get down.
Yeah, he crashed up that rear bumper. We got it on camera.
So Lee Ryerson is probably going to be held here. You're going to see Richard Brose go by. Lee Ryerson will be there for 15 seconds serving the penalty. That is definitely going to shake things up because now Richard has no one to work with him. He doesn't have a truck to push on him. Lee Ryerson is all way off the pace here.
And at this point in time, you know, the first green flag pit stop has happened. So if there is another caution, there will be no more free passes tonight.
However, if there is a free pass to be given, if it happens very quickly, Lee Ryerson could get his lap back and still be in the race.
Well, yeah, let me clarify that. What I should have said is Joel Guy will not be giving out any more free passes tonight.
Right.
But iRacing, yeah, he's still got a chance to get the free pass from the iRacing dictated free pass. But right now, looking at John Henderson, is John Henderson in that much trouble?
No, John Henderson's fine. So is Gary Whitmer Jr. It's too early. We got 40 laps to go. No need to push the issue right now. It's gonna if they stay like this and they all pit together and nobody makes mistakes, still a 4-car race, and it's going to be up to Gary Whitmer Jr. to decide if he wants to win the race or not, or if he wants to push. It's actually it's up to everybody, but I'm riding with Gary Whitmer Jr. right now, and he's in the 4th position, which is actually probably the best position on the track because he can lay off the car in front of him, whether he is there with if the 3 cars are in line, whatever, he can lay back off, get a run, especially like right now if he wanted to make a run, he slowly but surely would catch this run against John Henderson. Okay, just getting the word that 91 is going to be pitting the next time by. I'm going to swing my camera around because I believe what is going on right now, Gary Whitmer has front end damage that is keeping him from drafting up as much as he would like to. Not positive on that. I did look at the car. He does have damage. So, curious to see. They are pitting. I'm going to stay with Gary Whitmer. I'm going to see if he takes a quick fix.
And I am on with Joel Guy. Joel Guy and the 224, Kevin Scott Nelson, along with the number 11 and Gary Whitmer. All 4 drivers heading off into pit row, green flag. Tonight here on lap 61. What a beautiful sight. 4 trucks going into pit row. Green flag. Cameras locked on. Gary Whitmer. I want to give a big shout out to Chris Hogue having a real life computer incident. Shut the computer down with his knee. I tell you what, I believe that. I believe that indeed.
Gary Whitmer not taking the quick fix, he decided he was going to sit there and take the repair instead.
But that's going to cost him some time as two drivers are out there, and Gary Whitmer, I'm not sure if those front two drivers are going to wait for him. And the same thing with Joel Guy. Joel Guy must have got a penalty. That's going to hurt Joel Guy.
Yes, it is. So this is now a very spread out and interesting race.
Well, what's really going to be interesting now, lap 62 of 100. Now, let's talk about that fuel load. Once they get to lap 70, possibly even 69, these drivers can go in, get a full tank of fuel, and they'll be good to go. Or they can run it out, and they're going to be running out of fuel long about lap 92 to 94. And then all they need to do is go in there and get just a gallon, which is going to shred down that pit time.
Yes, you are correct. I'm watching what the times are here. Sorry, the leaders are actually only at 184. They're finally going to get hooked up, but Gary Whitmer is only able to run 178 miles. The leaders are now up to 185, 186. They're gonna gain some straightaways now that they're hooked up. They're 187, 8. So unfortunately, Gary Whitmer Jr. really start to fade here. Richard Brose is 8.6 seconds back. That pitting by himself really cost him. Well, he didn't pit by himself, but Lee Ryerson ending bagged really hurt him.
Lee Ryerson, 36.9 seconds back.
It's a two-truck race at this point, Scott. There's no way that Gary Whitmer Jr., Richard Brose, and Joel Guy catch them.
Well, they're actually. I will correct you. There is one way, and that's for Kevin Scott Nelson and John Henderson to blow their next green flag pit stop. It can happen.
It can. I think that Gary Whitmer made a grave mistake there by either just choosing to run the truck damaged and then stay as tight as he could to these guys with the damaged truck, or just take that chance and go ahead and use the quick repair. I know everybody doesn't want to, but it's unfortunate because like you said, if they blow the pit stop, that's one thing, but even if they blow the pit stop, if one of them does, all that'll do is maybe bring that car back a ways. By the time that we do pit, I just don't see it, Scott. Gary Whitmer Jr. is already 7 seconds back. Richard Brose is 15 seconds back. Joel Guy's 19 back, and just continue.
I have seen a two-truck tandem take one another out time after time after time. It's not over till the fat man catches that donut, I'll tell you what.
No, I do agree with that. I will not disagree with you at all. I think that is a very, very realistic possibility that could happen. I would think, though, that these two would be smart enough to know that they are the only two running together right now. Richard Brose and Joel Guy are the closest two on the track, and Joel Guy is now 21 seconds back. Richard Brose is 18 seconds back. So once those two get hooked up together, they will then start pushing forward and catch Gary Whitmer Jr. Then it will be a 3-car pack, but by then it'll be probably 15 or so seconds back, and unless Joel Guy Gary Whitmer Jr. and Richard Brose. And Richard Brose is a good pusher, don't get me wrong. But unless they get it together and like really quick, they need to knock about a half a second off a lap because they're now 24 seconds back.
24 seconds on Talladega. That is about precisely half a lap. All right, ladies and gentlemen, lap 67 of 100. We're going to take a quick 4x4 commercial break, pay tribute to a couple of our sponsors. You got about 90 seconds to go and grab that cup of coffee. Make sure you do listen to our commercials. We'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out there to Blaze Pizza, our Friday night sponsor, Jason Russo and Pro Automotive, our Tuesday night sponsor, and Gary Whitmer, GW Graphics, proud to be our latest Monday night sponsor. Big shout out there to Gary Whitmer and all those commercials that we have just witnessed, brought to you by GW Graphics. All right, with 70 to go, Ron, we're in that pit window. If you're Kevin and John, what are you thinking?
I run it out. I run it until I need to come in. They now have a third car at Lee Ryerson Jr. There's no reason to pit early. I stay out personally.
But you know, interesting situation here, because 2 is obviously better than 1. The 224 or the number 11, one of these drivers, they certainly could use Lee Ryerson. Now, this is where there's a problem with the radio channel, because all of these drivers are on the same channel. So hypothetically, what could happen is the number 11, John Henderson, could get a whisper out there to Lee Ryerson Jr. and say, you know what? We're not going to have another caution, fella. You're 1 lap down. How about you help me out? And he could tell the 224, well, let's go in, pit this time by. He could sucker punch the 224. 224 goes into pit row by himself, and the number 11 and Lee Ryerson Jr. is lap traffic takeoff, and the number 11 has got a 2-on-1 situation. Number 11 wins the race by a little bit of a sneaky pit partner maneuver right there. It is still a race, and I don't know about you, but if I'm down there, I want to win this race.
Absolutely, Scott. I love that word. You know that. But unfortunately, looks like Lee Ryerson Jr. has damage to the right rear of his truck from that contact with Gary Whitmer. I don't know if he used his quick fix earlier with that first caution, if he needed to. Didn't get it fixed, or if he didn't know that he had the damage, but he obviously cannot keep pace, so he has lost the front 2 trucks. So that whole theory that we were just talking about, that
it's out the window.
It's out the window. So it's really a 2-car battle as of right now. unless something changes, there's a caution flag or something of that sort, this is going to be decided by John Henderson. Basically, he will literally have this race in his control.
Richard Brose sitting back in third position, but he is 24 seconds back, along with Joel Guy and Gary Whitmer. Joel Guy doing a great job. Joel Guy starting out tonight's race. I do believe he was out there on that pole position tonight. Right now, still in fourth place. Doing a great job. Richard Brose starting out tonight in seventh, working his way up to third. Driving that Chevy Silverado. Not a mark on that pizzeria right there.
These guys really need to be pushing it as hard as they can. It's not a points race, and nobody likes to wreck. But this is, if you're okay with just being in the top 5, that's fine, and it's all for fun. But if these guys want to make a challenge for the win, Joel Guy is going to have to get to that back bumper of the 87. He's going to have to stay glued to him until he basically till he almost blows it up, and then he's going to have to duck out and let the 5 come up there, and then the 5 is going to have to do the same thing while the 91 tucks in behind the 5 and cools down, and they're going to have to keep doing the leapfrog because they're running 191 miles an hour, and the leaders are running 191 miles an hour. So they're not gaining at all. There's no energy with just 3 cars versus 2 cars. But the front 2 cars are really not pushing that hard. We know we can see speeds of upwards of 193, 194 miles an hour down the straights. So I am now seeing Richard Brose hitting 193, so they are pushing it a little bit harder. You'll probably see that 23-second gap shrink just ever so slightly. But until they push as hard as they can, the only chance that these guys have to get a top 2 finish if those front 2 cars get tangled up.
Now, you had mentioned the word fun. Now, as our fans know, we do run a 15-week series out on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. We just finished up with Phoenix. We had a lot of fun out there. It was an up and down. It was actually a down, then an up, then a down there on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. But next week, Ron, we are heading for Bristol. And you're doing a really good job up there with points on the Tuesday night truck series as we're watching Joel Guy, Richard Brose doing a little bit of different positioning here, putting Gary Whitmer in the middle maybe. But how are your thoughts? What are your thoughts as we are looking at Bristol come Monday?
It's going to be a really tough decision, Scott. It'd probably be a race time decision. I'll take a look at the field and watch the practice and see. It's kind of how I base what I do, whether I start, whether I qualify or not, whether I start in the back. I expect to see a lot of contact. I'd like to say I don't expect a lot of cautions, but Bristol's a short track. It's a lot of braking. There are going to be people that are braking earlier. There are going to be people that brake harder later. Wear out the tires if you brake later. Can't get it wound up, you might slide up into somebody or put it up into the wall. So it's going to be a very interesting night. I know you guys have been there before. I believe I've been there. I'm not sure if I've been there with you guys or not. I think you have been there once. I'm not sure if I've made the race or not since I've been with you guys. But I'm expecting a very difficult week next.
Well, and to make matters worse, after Bristol, we're heading back to Martinsville. So we got a B word, and then we got an M word. And after Martinsville, we're at Richmond. And, I don't know. I don't know if I'm more worried about Bristol, Martinsville, or Richmond.
I feel comfortable going to Martinsville. I've run a ton of laps there. I've done well both races that I've raced there, if not 3 times now. Probably should have done better in at least a couple of them, but I feel comfortable going to Martinsville. Bristol, I've logged a lot of laps there, and early simulator game or an early video game of the Sega, back in the Sega days, and back in the Sierra, when Sierra had NASCAR or whatever, in early 2000s. I haven't really run a whole lot of laps, but you can bet that I will be on there tomorrow, getting ready for Monday night. And then, you know, once you get all the laps in on Monday night, you're pretty well set in terms of how you're going to drive the track. Tuesday night, you have to drive the truck the way the truck has to be driven. So really, there's really not much you can do about it except for when you go and you get in the truck, you know that you're going to be tight. Brake a little bit earlier, let it roll through the corner. Can't get back on the gas quite as hard. So then, of course, next Friday night's going to be just a really interesting race. Nobody likes cautions. Don't want to pace the whole time, but there's going to be it seems like right now the Friday night series is our most popular series. We're bringing in more cars on Friday night than we are on Mondays and Tuesdays. I think that's because of one of the more recent addition, the sub teams, Dark Horse. They bring a lot of guys on Friday night. We don't generally see them on Mondays and Tuesdays. If we do, we don't see as many of them. So Friday night's going to be the one to watch.
No doubt about it. Friday night brought to you by Blaze Pizza.
I'm watching the lap times and I'm watching the gap, and I'm just not seeing any closure rate whatsoever. Scott, these guys are Gary Whitmer Jr., Richard Brose, and Joel Guy are all sitting at 24, just over 24 seconds back. So they've made no gains. They do have Lee Ryerson Jr. there with them. I don't know. Maybe if he can get to the back bumper of Joel Guy and stay on his back bumper, they may be okay. Or maybe if they put him in the middle, then they'd have a little bit more energy and they would have maybe the possibility of going a little bit faster.
Well, you are absolutely right. We are looking at a 24.8 second gap there with Lee Ryerson, Joel Guy, Richard Brose. I do not know, you know, but you're talking no sense of urgency right there. Even with Kevin Scott Nelson and John Henderson, they are not bumper to bumper, nose to tail. They are not hanging on like a tick on the back of a coon dog on a hot Missouri Ozark night. There's just a nice, relaxing night, which is good. I mean, that is not a bad thing. We lost a lot of drivers tonight out there to the Bristol race on NASCAR tonight. And coming off of the week at Phoenix, Friday night was a little rough, but a great night. But these drivers that did show up tonight, I think they're just out here taking it easy, possibly treating it almost like a Sunday drive. But it does appear at this rate that Kevin Scott Nelson... Has Kevin Scott Nelson won a race recently?
He actually just won Thursday night.
Nice.
And whatever the drivers did, they have now fallen another second back, a full second. I'm showing 25 seconds back.
25.7. I'm
not sure if they're going to try some kind of pits, some kind of... They can't make it. There's no way that... I mean, they pitted on lap.
They need to pit right now. They need to pit before these leaders do. That is their only chance.
I don't even think that's going to do it, Scott. I think maybe you run it to the end, figure out just exactly how much you need, and go in and you only take that much, but it's still only going to save you a couple seconds. I mean, 25 seconds is just... It's way too much to try to make up. They need a caution flag, or they need the front two to get themselves into trouble. And even then, if the leaders got into trouble right now, one of them stayed at 178 miles an hour, 180 miles an hour, 25 seconds. I don't even know if that could be made up in 14 laps. I guess it's possible. Probably about a half a second or more a lap. So I guess it is possible. If the leaders got into trouble right now, one of them just kind of slid sideways or whatever. Lost the
Speeding
other
penalty in, speeding penalty out.
Now that would change things drastically. If they get a if they get a speeding penalty in, they get one in, it'll drop them back 15 seconds automatically, and that would leave the lead car out there by himself. That would possibly close the gap if it happened right now. But if it looks like all these guys are going to run it until they're almost dry. So as the laps wind down, that chance for them to actually catch them is going to become less and less and less, even if there is a penalty. Plus they both get penalty.
Lap 86 of 114 to go as we take a look at our race summary. Lead changes have slowed down, only 20 lead changes, and that is because Kevin and John have got up there, and it is a little bit of a runaway as they are now 27.4 seconds off of Joel Guy. So Kevin and John, they are pretty much about a quarter-second gain runaway from third, fourth, and fifth position and sixth.
Very, very interesting.
But again, you know, none of these drivers can make it out here tonight. Becky Whitmer convinced there's going to be one more caution.
If it happens, Scott, it's going to be the back. It's going to be the pack in the back. It's going to be that second pack. And I don't see these guys pushing hard. They're spaced out. I think everybody is just going to ride their race out, and maybe you'll see a little race between the front two and a little race between the back four, but really the back three. Before this is over, I'm going to throw out one last trivia question.
All right.
Let's see. Who was the driver that started the deepest in the field and that won at Talladega? Get brownie points if you can tell me where he started from, what position he started from.
All right, well, you already gave it away, so we know it's not Danica.
Well, Danica hasn't won there, so...
Well,
really
and you said he. All right, so there's your first hint. It is a male. Well, that ought to narrow it down. So we're looking for the driver that had the lowest starting position that won. Richard Brose into pit row. Gary Whitmer into pit row. Joel Guy into pit row. We are on camera lock with Joel Guy into pit row on lap 89. Nice pit stop there by Gary Whitmer, Joel Guy, and Richie B. Would you worry about tires right now?
Nope, I would just take a splash fuel and go. There's 10 laps to go, about 5 gallons.
But Joel passed up his pit stop a little bit. Oh, bad exit by Joel Guy. But he's got help with Richie B. All right, so we're going to lock up here with cameras on Kevin and John. Kevin and John.
I've actually got my camera locked on them too, and I'm watching the pedometer. I'm gonna. Okay, here they go. They're coming on a pit road. I'm gonna watch and see. Kevin's gonna get her woed down. He's at 60 miles an hour, so there definitely will not be an entrance penalty. 11 was right behind him, so no chance for a penalty from top to entering so far.
and they're in front of one another, just separated by one pit stall. That's going to help a lot on their exit. 224 out, number 11 out, 224 a little bit stronger on the exit way, but he needs this number 11. He has got, you know, whether he wants him or not, he needs the number 11.
Not really, Scott. These guys are, the other guys are so far back.
You don't think that if they went single, that if they lost draft, that the other driver would not have time to catch him within 9 laps?
No, not a chance. They're too far back.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, looking at this now, Joel Guy, Richie B are not hooked up. I thought that Joel Guy and Richie B were hooked up. Maybe if they were hooked up, what I said may have come into play, but you're right. Joel Guy, Richie B, Lee Ryerson, Gary Whitmer, they're not hooked up. The only drivers hooked up on the track is Kevin Scott and John Henderson.
Yep.
Alrighty, we have got an answer out there on the KMA TV chat. Becky Whitmer, do I get a ringer bell? She says Dale Jarrett.
That is not correct.
Oh, no bell for Becky Whitmer. You cannot ring my bell on lap 92. All right, one more time. We got about 8 minutes to get her done, Becky. We're looking for the driver who started deepest in the field of the Talladega race that won that race. Can we give her a hint with where this driver started?
Started 36th.
So this driver started 36th and won the race.
So Joel Guy and Richard Brose are almost hooked up, but Gary Whitmer has somehow pulled out about 12 seconds in front of them. So in 7 laps, I would assume that Joel Guy and Richie B will close in on Gary Whitmer for the 3rd position, and there may be a fight there. You would have to keep, I don't know. Let's see, the leaders are about to pass. Well, that's Richie B right there.
That's Richie B. They're going to whip around, and there's going to be no love for
So
Richie B on lap 93.
No, they just put Richie B a lap down. So something must have happened to Richie B, because he was actually right there with Joel Guy. So something happened to Richie B.
But they're going to probably put Joel Guy a lap down, because right now Joel Guy is 46 seconds back. This is a 53-second track, 6 to go. There's a possibility that Kevin and John will put Joel Guy 1 lap down as well.
It's not a possibility. It's happening. It's going to happen right here on the backstretch. Joel Guy is going high. Kevin Scott Nelson is going low. The 11 looked like he might want to make his move right there. Joel Guy going to drop down. They are also going to go swallow up Gary Whitmer. Gary Whitmer is up in that high lane. Wow, they are going to blow by Gary Whitmer Jr.
So we are indeed looking at Kevin Scott Nelson or John Henderson. But again, it appears that Kevin and John, they're saying to heck with the lap traffic. This is going to be mano. This is going to be me and you. All right, so we now got to get into this one-on-one.
Yeah, but there was a mistake made there. The number 11 should have dropped off, left Scott Nelson out there. Drop back, pick up Joel Guy with the run that he would have.
No, that's what I'm saying is they're going to go mano. I don't think they want the lap traffic.
I wouldn't have done it. I'd have backed off. I would have picked up Joel Guy.
Well, I would have
Gary
too.
Because Gary Whitmer's coming back to Joel Guy right now.
I agree with you 100%. I would have too, but you got to respect the thought of Kevin Scott Nelson and John Henderson, because they're saying, you know what, it's been me and you pretty much all night. So these boys, they're going to prove it down on the last lap. All right, Becky Whitmer.
There's going to be a big change here, though.
All right, Becky Whitmer, got about 4 minutes. Give me that answer, Becky Whitmer.
Joel Guy closing in fast. So here's where it's going to get interesting. I mean, what do the lap cars do? They just pass them or go up beside them and run with them?
I don't know. We're coming up to 3 to go. We discourage lap traffic really interfering with a race such as this. But, Joel Guy, Gary Whitmer, they got a right to be out there on that racetrack as much as John and Kevin.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Here's what could very well happen. The 11 is going to back off, and he's going to pull up behind the number 5 car.
I don't know. I don't know. Joel Guy thought he was coming down.
I may be wrong.
There's a lot of respect out here.
Well, sure, there's a lot of respect, but let's be honest, Scott. This is to win a race. I would be dumping the 224. I'd be going up high with the 91 and the 5.
There is a possibility that John Henderson has submitted to a second place. Second place is not bad. It ain't first place. A lot is on the mind right now of John Henderson. What's he going to do? Stay tuned. We'll find out.
Yeah, I would like to find out. We just crossed lap 98. We've got, 2 to go? 3 to go? I hate how the laps are counted here in iRacing.
I tell you what, go on and give you that answer out there. I think you might have stumped him again tonight.
Okay, so the answer is Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon, deepest start position of position 36, winning. What year was that?
That was in 2000.
2000. All right, 224, number 11. These are the only drivers you really need to focus on. 91 and 5, fighting like hell to get back on the lead lap, but they are not in contention for the win. This is either going to be the 224, Kevin Scott Nelson, or the number 11. Ronald, talk us through this last lap we're coming to.
Honestly, I appreciate the, I've been with you the whole race, but there's just no way that I would be hanging on the back bumper of the. You can tell. Oh, this is going to be bad, Scott. This is going to be bad.
Oh, there it is. It's ugly. It's ugly. All right, we're going through that replay. Walk us through it. Number 11 comes up. Joel Guy, contact 3 wide. I think the number 11, John Henderson, just won this race.
John Henderson did win this race, and this is why I didn't understand why he was staying on the low side, Scott. He wanted to go for the win. So
what a mess, though.
I'm watching the replay, and he tries to stick his nose in there and make another lane, and Joel Guy wasn't going to move. All he had to do was pull up into that outside lane. Those guys were a lap down. If he pulled in behind those cars, he wins the race without any contact. Now, Kevin Scott Nelson is probably going to limp it home and still come home second, but very, very, very curious as to why that unfolded the way that it did.
All righty. Well, I tell you what, I do believe that'll wrap it up. Now, you're going to have to help me out with these race results because my race results are not accurate. Who are you showing in first, second, and third?
So we got John Henderson, Kevin Scott Nelson, and Gary Whitmer Jr. because Gary Whitmer Jr. snuck through.
Gary Whitmer Jr. in third position.
Yes.
And who'd you call out in third? Kevin Scott?
No, third was Gary Whitmer, then it's Kevin Scott Nelson finishing second, John Henderson.
All righty. How about it, Gary Whitmer? You got a copy?
I got you, Scott.
All right. Ron's got a question or two for you.
All right.
Well, so it looked like some things went wrong, and looked like some things went wrong, Gary. You guys unfortunately fell a lap down, and then right there at the end, the leaders kind of got together there, and you ended up sneaking by and getting back on the lead lap and finishing third. Talk to me about what went wrong there and how you guys lost so much time.
I think Joel got a penalty on that last second to the last caution that we did together, he got a penalty, and then we all tried to catch up with him and go towards the front. It just didn't work out.
Copy that. You still managed to bring it home third, even though it was a probably a longer night than you wanted. Racing that far back, but nonetheless, you still finished on the podium. Talk to me about the rest of your night.
That wasn't too bad. I'm used to coming into KMA races and practicing with the guys before the race actually takes off. It lets you set the field and get a feel for everything, but tonight was a little bit different. I didn't get a chance to get a feel for anything.
So on the backstretch there on the last lap, were you kind of surprised as to what unfolded there?
Yeah, I was. I thought it was just going to stay 2x2 the rest of the way.
Now, Scott and I were up there talking in the booth, and we kind of Scott thought the same thing. I didn't. I thought the 11 was going to at some point want to go for the win, but what shocked me was I figured that he would just dump the 224, pull up behind you. I was waiting for that move to come, and it never did. And then on the backstretch, there was a door that was slightly open, and he tried to put it in there. It looked like you had the perfect vantage point. When I watched the replay, it looked like you had the perfect vantage point. Can you talk to me about that real quick?
Yeah, me and Joel was working. I was trying to keep him in front of the 224 and 11 to keep us ahead of him so we wouldn't get laps down. And looked like when I was following Joel, that the 11 kind of come up on him a little bit, and then it went from there.
Copy that. Well, nonetheless, very entertaining night. Even though it was a lower car count, it was entertaining, at least up here in the booth for us. We do a good job of entertaining ourselves, and hopefully we entertain the fans. I want to thank you for coming out and supporting KMA tonight, and supporting PAD, RTK Motorsports as well. So thank you for that. Congratulations on a third place finish.
Yep, thanks.
Give
Good job,
any final shout outs, Gary?
Yeah, thanks to the fans and my mom and dad for watching. KMA Racing, KMA TV, PAD. You guys do a great job up here in the booth.
Alrighty, thank you, Gary. Great job tonight, bud. How about it, Kevin?
Thanks, Scott.
Kevin, you
Going
got a
out,
comment?
gentlemen.
I tell you what, talk us through that last lap. Now, you heard what Gary Whitmer was saying, and again, we were just really confused, and we thought that lap traffic was going to come into play. I was a little bit confused. Ron and I were like, I don't understand why, this driver didn't go up. But I thought maybe it was a mutual respect between Kevin and John, because it had just been you guys there for several laps. Are we right or wrong?
Yeah, I told him if he go for the win, jump behind those guys, make it interesting. Just kind of didn't work out right. I wasn't going to give him the win, but...
Now, obviously, you were heartbroken when that little sideswipe incident there happened. But hanging onto that wheel, you went for a ride. What was going through your mind at that point in time?
I was just like, please don't hit the wall. Take myself out. I knew I had enough seconds on third that I could at least limp back to second. If I would have hit the wall really hard, I might have been not doing that. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. I don't know. We had massively good pit stops, because I don't know how we got so far ahead. Especially once they hooked up with 3 people, I thought we were in trouble.
But one thing we did not see out here tonight, we really did not see a sense of urgency, even though you and John were pushing. And you're right, Richie and Joel and company, you guys were clicking away at about a half a second lead per lap there, just adding on to that differential there. But I really didn't think that you and John were too terribly concerned about them drivers being 24 seconds back.
Yeah, when we got to about 20 laps and they were still 24 seconds back, I was like, well, they're not going to knock off a second a lap. Then they started doing a second a lap, but it was too late.
All right, now usually, Kevin, you're out here supporting Michigan. Tonight, I am seeing you in a Ray Bestis Brakes red carpet lease Chevy Credit Chevy Silverado. Talk to us a little bit about the paint job.
Oh, man, I ain't going to put this into me. This is an old paint job of one of those drivers with Ricky Rudd's, or... It just looked kind of cool. Someone else was driving the Michigan car a couple weeks ago. and I figured I'd change cars just in case they did that again. And then they haven't drove it again. So Michigan's about ready to be football here in about 3 weeks. So I'll be driving Michigan 24/7 again.
Nice, but I got to say it. Go Illini! You know I'm an Illini fan.
Carolina. As long as you're not Ohio State.
No, wait, no, Ohio. All right,
Everybody hates Ohio State.
good job, Kevin Scott Nelson, finishing twice.
Sweet. Good talking to you guys. Thanks for everything.
All right, John Henderson, I'm going to let you talk to Ronald Klein.
Okay.
Heck of a race there, John. You and Scott were really just, the rest of the field had issues. It was a compound. It was just compounded one thing after another. We saw Gary. I personally watched Gary Whitmer Jr. He pitted with damage and decided to stay in pit road instead of taking the quick fix. Well, that put him far enough back where he was unable to get back up to you because one of the guys that he was running with got a pit road speeding penalty. So that really broke up the field. And with you and Kevin going in together and coming out together, staying with each other, you guys were just putting down lap times and just walking away from everybody. And in the end, it got to the point where you guys actually lapped the entire field. And I want to talk to you real quick about that last lap. I was kind of surprised up here, and I was thinking, I'm pretty sure that if I was in that position, I would definitely want to go for the win. And the easiest way would have been to just lay off of the 224 and then jump in behind that outside lane. Talk to me about that last lap and what was going through your head there.
Yeah, I've been working with Kevin all night long, and I told him, I said, I'm not going to try anything until the white flag. Then we were coming around for the white flag, and those guys hooked up, and they got up beside us. And truthfully, when we got to that point, I thought, and maybe it was a little different, I just slid out just a little bit to the middle lane, like I was going to go in the middle. And I figured because the guys were laps down, that they'd give me a little bit of room, and that just didn't happen. So it was. I expected something, to happen from a lap down car. It didn't happen. It was totally my fault. I feel bad because Kevin and I mean, all night long, execution, everything was perfect to have that happen. It's not how I wanted to win it for sure.
We'll copy that. I don't really, I wasn't passing judgment or anything like that. I wanted to know kind of what, from your vantage point, what was going on there, and what, I guess now we know. So talk to me real quick about the paint job that you're supporting tonight.
Well, I tell you what, I picked the Monster Energy because I used to race real race cars, and they always told me that you can't bring green to the track and you can't eat peanuts. So I absolutely love the color green. So I love racing green. So I picked green.
Green
Monster
is green. It did it tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm a huge fan of green as well, so I'm with you on that.
Is this your first win here tonight? Is this your first win at a Speedway, John?
It's my first win in iRacing ever. This is my 7th race.
No, oh wow! All right, well, big congratulations! Very special night tonight for John Henderson.
Absolutely, and like I said, I owe it all to Scott, and I wish it did in a different way. But sometimes that happens. You just make the wrong decision, and you end up in victory lane, or you end up on the wrecker. So it happens. That's racing.
All righty, good job, John Henderson. We're gonna let you go. John Henderson winning Slamming Saturday. Good job, John Henderson.
Thank you, and thank you for all you guys do. I love racing here at KMA, and you guys do an awesome job. And anybody that's out there watching, if you want to race, come race with these guys. They're top notch.
Thanks, sir. All right, Ronald, as we look at our race results, go on and talk to us and give us a quick race summary.
Well, it looks like we had a very interesting turn of events about halfway through the race. Almost kind of similar to what happened around the lap 30 mark. And like we said, there wouldn't be a reset, there wouldn't be any fixes. The mistakes that were made on pit road and the decisions were made ultimately allowed Kevin Scott Nelson and John Henderson to absolutely dominate the field. The last lap, you know, I'm not a big fan of the boys have at it attitude. John Henderson, he thought one thing was going to happen and it didn't, but I'm not passing judgment. It's just, it's a learning experience. I think everything about it was, a good learning night, and congratulations to John Henderson on his first win.
Alrighty, and congratulations to you, sir, helping me out up in the booth tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Tell the folks what's on store for KMA Racing next week.
So next week, we are going to Bristol Motor Speedway, which is going to be an interesting time. We have a Ackley half mile. I'm not positive. I'd have to pull it up, but we're doing Bristol on Monday and Tuesday. On Monday night, the Xfinity cars. Tuesday, the Camping World Truck Series. Wednesday night, we'll be racing the super late models at Martinsville. So that'll be another short track race. Obviously, that's what Wednesday nights are. Thursday night, we'll be back at Daytona in the Impala B. Friday, we'll be in the Cup cars, and Saturday, we'll be right back here at Talladega in the trucks.
Alrighty, sounds like a good time. A lot of action coming your way. Stay tuned to KMA TV. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he is Ron. I am Scott, and we are out of here. Thank you for your time tonight, Ron.
No problem. Thanks to all the fans for watching.